Hello, and welcome to this online information session here at Boston University about transfer admissions. My name is John Coronan, and I'm an Associate Director of Admissions here at Boston University, and I will be hosting this information session over the next hour. In short, what we'll be doing over this hour is to talk generally about Boston University and give an overview of the academic, extracurricular, career, and social opportunities for you as a student here at Boston University. We will also talk about the application, the credit evaluation, and the financial aid application processes, including deadlines and timelines to be thinking about as a transfer applicant. Finally, we'll be talking with two current Boston University students who transferred here from other universities, and they will be talking about their experiences as a Boston University student and the transition here as a transfer. So I'd like to begin, again, by talking generally about Boston University and the offerings here for you as a student. At the end of this, and also after the presentation, we'll be taking questions from you as well. I know some of you have already begun to ask some questions, and we will be sure to reserve some time to get to the questions that you may have as well. As many of you may know, Boston University is one of the largest private institutions here in the United States, and actually one of the largest undergraduate schools here in the greater Boston area. We are an institution with 16,000 undergraduate students, and we offer over 250 different academic programs for undergraduate students. Our majors and minors are offered in 9 different divisions or areas of study across, again, 250 different programs. We are a liberal arts institution, but also offer some of the most highly ranked and prestigious professional programs in the United States. And that is in areas specifically including health and rehabilitation sciences, areas of physical therapy, athletic training and occupational therapy, in business and entrepreneurship, hospitality administration, communication, biomedical engineering, education, theater, music, and visual arts. Despite being a large institution, however, Boston University also has the largest staff of faculty of any private institution in the United States, which helps to make our student-to-faculty ratio of 13:1. We also have an average class size of approximately 28 students per classroom, and over 80% of our classes have less than 30 students in a classroom. Not only will you have professors including former U.S. poet laureates, Nobel laureates such as Elie Wiesel or Sheldon Glashow, Pulitzer Prize winners, Emmy Award winners, Charles DeLisi, who is the father of the Human Genome Project, or one of the 30 members of the Boston Symphony Orchestra who teach in our College of Fine Arts. But again, you will have that opportunity to really get to know these professors as well within the structure of a 13:1 student-to-faculty ratio. The rigor of our academic programs here at Boston University is often one of the biggest factors for students having interest in being a student here at BU. BU students love to be challenged in the classroom, engaged in active class discussion, and interacting with faculty. Our faculty members are not only top scholars in their field, but they are here to teach undergraduate students. Learning at BU, however, goes well beyond the classroom, and we certainly offer opportunities in the areas of research, internships, and certainly study abroad. In terms of research, Boston University is one of the top 25 funded undergraduate schools in the United States. We have over 2,000 laboratories on campus and lots of opportunities for students at the undergraduate level to get hands-on experience with research. Students can get upwards of $2,000 for a semester or $4,000 for a summer term to conduct an individualized research project. We also offer internships, and being here in the city of Boston provides students numerous opportunities to get hands-on career-related experiences right in our own backyard. We have students in our School of Management who work in the financial district, political science students who work at the State House, education students who do student teaching here in Boston and in the suburban areas as well. One of the marquee aspects of internship opportunities here at BU is that many students will conduct multiple internships during their undergraduate experience, often here in the city of Boston, but also alongside a study abroad program. BU has one of the oldest study abroad programs in the United States, and we will guarantee an internship opportunity for any student who takes advantage of studying abroad. For example, we have students who will do Parliament internships while studying abroad in London, students who work for the World Health Organization while studying abroad in Geneva. We have engineering students who will take courses at one of the oldest and most prestigious schools in the world in Dresden, Germany. We have fine arts students who will study at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. We have had students who work for Rolling Stone magazine in Madrid doing student teaching in areas such as Ecuador, and other students who may work in ecosystems in the Galapagos Islands. Some really unique opportunities, not only for students to take advantage of being overseas in a foreign country for a semester, but also to do a career-related experience during that time abroad. Now, students love to go abroad, and nearly 40% of students will take advantage of studying abroad, but students also, of course, enjoy their time here in the city of Boston. We recognize that the city of Boston is very likely a big part of your interest in Boston University. BU is one of nearly 60 colleges and universities here in the greater Boston area, and in addition to being one of the largest, we are also one of the most centrally located here in the city of Boston. Our campus is certainly very urban, very close to downtown, and one of the main areas of the subway system actually goes directly through the center of our campus. BU students find themselves as one of nearly 250,000 college students who reside here in the city of Boston between September and May. We are a huge college community, to say the least, and it is a very vibrant and diverse and academically driven culture, to say the least. Here on our campus, you will have the opportunity to be involved with nearly one of 250 different clubs and organizations, almost 500 different opportunities beyond that to be involved outside of the classroom. Boston University is a Division I athletic institution involved with the Patriot League at the D1 level. We also have opportunities with professional organizations, academic organizations, music, theater, fine arts, areas of religious clubs or special interest cultural and religious clubs. Lots of opportunities for you, again, to be involved outside of the classroom here on campus. Boston University is also a very residential community with nearly 80% of our undergraduates living here on campus. As a transfer student, you may have the opportunity to live here on campus as well in one of our undergraduate dorms or apartment complexes here on Commonwealth Avenue. 20% of our students do reside off campus, most of whom are right here in the area surrounding our campus. So again, lots of opportunities to have both a residential and academic experience as an undergraduate here at BU. Lastly, I want to make quick mention of the outcomes of Boston University students. Most recently, BU was rated as the number 13 school in the country by the New York Times in terms of the employability of our graduates. We know that your interest in being a BU student may be for the prestige and the experience of a Boston University education. We know that our students are extremely successful when they depart from Boston University after their time of undergraduate study. Our students join a humongous network of alumni. We're over 200,000 living Boston University alumni in nearly every country around the globe. We know that you have a great opportunity to study here at BU and hope that you will continue to do some research in terms of what your specific interests may be on campus here. If you have not visited our website, I encourage you to do so. You can learn about the various opportunities and the specific programs you may be looking at. You can look at the different classes, professors, and even student outcome stories that may exist in the particular area that you are most interested in. So that is essentially a brief overview of what I think are some of the most important aspects of undergraduate life here as a Boston University student. As promised, I do want to spend some time talking about our application process and the nuts and bolts of the process itself and things to keep in mind as an applicant through our transfer admissions process. So at this time, I'm actually going to go fairly quickly through a PowerPoint presentation, which you should see on your screen, which will highlight the facts and figures, timelines, and requirements as a transfer applicant. If you can't see, again, please make sure to refresh your screen. I know for some of you typing in, there's an issue. Again, if you refresh your screen, you'll be able to continue viewing the presentation. So again, as an applicant to Boston University, we are a common application school, and that means you should be using the common application, which many of you may already be familiar with, and submitting that application form and the Boston University writing supplement to our office for consideration for admission. It's very important, as I tell all transfers, to really tell your story as an applicant within your application. We know that the Common Application has an array of different prompts to be using for your essay topic, but really as a transfer student, we want to know what your academic pathway has been, your interest in BU as a transfer student, perhaps why you're interested in transferring at this point in time from your current institution to BU. So again, do be sure within your writing samples and your application in itself to tell those aspects of you as a person and an applicant that you think will be helpful for us in the review of your application. Additionally, of course, we are going to be looking at your college transcripts. And this should include all of the college level coursework that you have completed to this point in time. If you've done courses at a part-time level or a full-time level, any and all college coursework you have completed should be submitted to our office in the form of an official college transcript. And no surprise, this will be one of the larger components of our review process for you as a transfer applicant. Thirdly, we'll be looking at proof of high school graduation or the results of a GED exam. To be eligible for transfer admission, you must have graduated from high school or completed a GED exam, and we again will need that final high school transcript, which will show that you have graduated, and also all of the courses and the grades from the work you've completed at the high school level. If you're submitting a GED exam, again, we'll need the official results, including the 4 sections of the GED exam itself. Next, we'll be looking at what is called a registrar's report, and this will need to be submitted for any and all institutions where you have been a fully enrolled student. The registrar's report is available through the Common Application website. We also have a PDF version of that on our own website, and essentially this is a form that will indicate to us both your academic and disciplinary standing at any college or university where you have been a fully enrolled student. So again, we will need a registrar's report for each institution where you have been a fully enrolled student. In many cases, this will be completed in the registrar's office at any college or university, but beware that you may need to go to a judicial affairs office or dean of students office in order to get the information completed on the registrar's report. Next, we'll be looking for a midterm report form for those of you who are currently enrolled in college. So if you are applying, for example, for our September term of next year and are currently enrolled in this spring semester, we will ask for a midterm report form of the midpoint of this semester of the grades in the courses that you are currently completing. Again, this form is located on the Common Application website, and a PDF version is also available on our admissions website as well. And the real purpose of the midterm report is to allow for us, hopefully, to expedite the review of your application before needing to get your final grades for this current semester. For international students, and we know some of you may be international students or where English is not your primary spoken language, we do require the submission of a TOEFL examination. Minimal requirements for the TOEFL are listed on the admissions website. We will be looking not only at the total score, but the sub-scores in each of the 4 sections on the TOEFL as well. Please be aware that there are some different minimums dependent on the different program or school you might be applying to. So again, if you are international or where English is your second language, a TOEFL exam should be submitted. Lastly, if you are a College of Fine Arts applicant, you will need to complete either an audition or a portfolio for consideration to our music theater, or visual arts program. For visual arts students, a portfolio will be asked to be submitted. For music students, an audition. And for theater students, either a portfolio or an audition, dependent on your interest in acting or in our design and production track. Now, in terms of dates and deadlines, if you are applying to our September term, as some of you may be doing since it is the spring semester, our deadline is March 1st. If you are applying for our January term, applications must be submitted by November 1st. In terms of the overall application review period and decision dates, for those of you applying to September, we review applications between the months of March and June. And for January applicants, November and December is when we are completing our reviews. We release our decisions on a rolling basis. So some of you, for example, may receive your admissions decision as early as late March or early April if you're applying for the September term, while others may receive their decision in May. Lots of factors contribute to when we are able to release decisions, one of which is the number of applications we need to review. But the more you are able to submit to our office in a timely manner, the more likely you will have your application decision sooner as opposed to later. Additionally, if it is the case that you must receive a decision by a certain point in time, and we know many of you may have housing deadlines or enrollment deadlines at your current institution, we welcome you to contact our admissions office, and we can do our best to expedite the review of your application and release the decision to you as soon as possible. If you need a decision, again, we will do our best to accommodate that request. Lastly, if admitted, our enrollment deposit deadlines tend to be June 1st or later if you're applying for the September term, or December 15th or later if you are applying for our January term. For those of you who might be receiving a decision in late May or early June, you tend to have 3 weeks to make a decision upon your enrollment at BU after you get your decision. Financial assistance. So I want to spend some time covering excuse me, some nuts and bolts about our financial assistance opportunities. First and foremost, Boston University requires 2 applications in order to be considered for need-based financial aid. Those are the FAFSA form and the CSS profile form. Again, very, very important that both of these are submitted in order to be considered for need-based financial aid. The deadlines for these applications are the same as is the case for our applications for admission. So March 1st if you are applying for September, and November 1st if you are applying for the January term. For BU need-based aid, it is very important to recognize that parent income and asset information is required, even if it is not required for federal aid on the FAFSA form. Only in very special circumstances might this be able to be waived for you as an applicant. So we encourage you to provide this information within the FAFSA and profile. Any specific questions about this, again, you are welcome to contact our financial aid office. And again, our financial aid assistance website is bu.edu/FINAID. And you are welcome again to review more information on their website. Boston University also has a merit scholarship available for students who are in the Phi Theta Kappa Honors Organization at their community college. We award 2-year $20,000 merit scholarships, typically to upwards of 5 students each and every year, again, who may be in the PTK organization and are nominated by their advisor. Students must enroll as juniors at Boston University and come into BU with a minimum of 60 transferable credits. And the link that you see on your screen is where you can find more about our financial aid opportunities, and specifically the scholarship noted here in the $20,000 PTK National Honor Society scholarship. Credit evaluation. So we also want to talk very briefly about the way in which our credit evaluation process works. First and foremost, students must submit syllabi for college courses in order to receive credit for that here at Boston University. We encourage you as an applicant to submit your syllabi before you hear your admissions decision, allowing us to expedite the review of your syllabi and coursework for credit here at BU. So you need not wait for your decision in order to submit syllabi to our office. Secondly, syllabi are to review the packets that professors typically hand out during the first few weeks of courses. They are different from course descriptions as well as transcripts, and it usually includes an overall description of the course, the objectives, the goals, assignments, daily or weekly scheduled material covered as well. Email these syllabi to our office, and you can do so as separate PDF attachments to credeval@bu.edu. Again, that is credeval@bu.edu. And as asked, please print your name and your date of birth across the top of these syllabi so that we can process these and add them to your admissions file. All credit evaluation questions may also be directed to this email address, credeval@bu.edu, if you have prospective questions about what credits you believe you might get for the courses that you have taken at the college level. In general, most courses that are liberal arts like general education courses are the most likely to transfer for credit here at Boston University. For those of you who in your freshman, sophomore, or even junior year of college have taken science, math, liberal arts, writing, rhetoric, those types of courses are the most likely to, again, be considered for credit here at Boston University. Most students need to have at least a C or higher in order to get credit for those courses, and one last time, syllabi again must be submitted in order for credit to be awarded. So that is the overview of the application process, the credit evaluation process, and also considerations for financial assistance here at Boston University. Now, before I bring in our two students who are going to share their experiences here at BU, I do want to spend some time really answering the questions that I know have come in regard to the application process or about Boston University in general. So let me look at what questions we have here. So the first question I have is GPA. So one of the things we didn't talk specifically about is what the requirement in terms of your grade point average may be as an applicant to Boston University. Typically speaking, the average GPA for our admitted students to Boston University is about a 3.5 GPA at the college level. However, there's a lot of flexibility that we look at within your application based on how much coursework you've completed at the college level, how long you've been in college, the types of courses that you have completed as well. For example, for a student who has only completed 1 or 2 semesters of college work, we will be relying a bit more on your high school coursework than a student who has completed 4 or 5 semesters of college coursework, where we will rely a whole lot more on what you've done at the college level. The stronger your coursework has been in college, the more flexible we may be on looking at the GPA that you have attained. Second question is about, for international students, does the high school transcript need to be in English? It does. So for any foreign credentials, including high school transcripts, we do need to get that submission to our office in English. So again, that must be translated and submitted to our office if you have any credentials coming to us from overseas. We're also being asked a little bit about the TOEFL exam and whether or not we're able to waive that exam for international students or students where English is your second language. Now, Boston University has lots of international students here at the undergraduate level. Nearly 20% of our undergraduates are international students. We have a lot of students here, but we have very strict English proficiency standards for admission as an international student. While it is the case we may waive the TOEFL, it is very, very rare. And the best thing you can do to give yourself the best chance for admission is to submit that TOEFL examination. Only after we do a full review of your application will we know if a waiver may be possible, but in very rare cases will a TOEFL be waived. Next question, does the midterm report need to be in by March 1st? It does not. We know that many of you are amidst your college coursework now, and we ask for that to be submitted as soon as possible. Again, the sooner that those midterms are submitted to our office, the quicker we can review your application and get a decision to you. But we typically will receive midterm reports late in March, even into April or early May, and we will still consider that for your application. So you need not have your midterm report in, nor need you have your registrar's report in necessarily by March 1st. However, very important that you do have your application submitted by March 1st, but other credentials can come in after that deadline. Application rate. So to talk generally about the number of applications and the number of admitted transfer students here at Boston University, we generally receive somewhere between 4,500 and 5,000 transfer applications each and every year. Within that applicant pool, we generally enroll roughly 450 to 500 students here at BU. Our acceptance rate, somewhere between 30 and 40%, which is very similar to our freshman acceptance rate, but it does vary between our January and our September terms. Student life. So we will talk certainly a little bit more about student life here on campus as we bring in our student speakers, and perhaps that is a great segue to bring in our two student speakers here this evening, again, who are current Boston University students who transferred from other institutions. So I'm going to welcome Katie and Danny in. Feel free to come in and have a seat. Welcome to both of you. So again, we have two students here, and what I'm going to ask Danny and Katie for you to each do is perhaps just take a few minutes and talk about what your experience has been like here as a BU student, and also what that transition was like for you coming from another institution as a transfer.
Yeah, so I'll go first. My name is Danny Vasquez. I'm a senior here in the College of Communication. I am majoring in public relations with a minor in international relations, and I'm originally from South Florida. So I transferred from the University of Florida after my freshman year. I'd always wanted to attend BU, so I wasn't applying to any other places. It was just kind of the one that stuck with me after senior year, and finally convinced my parents to let me transfer after a few months. And the process was pretty seamless for me because it was, I guess, less stress only applying to one place. I was able to receive a lot of help through my academic advisors with all my transfer credit evaluations, and when I came here for orientation as well. Transferred for many reasons, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later. But my experience has been really great so far. I've been able to do everything that I wanted to do in college as a transfer student. It didn't really stop me. I've been able to do internships. I've studied abroad twice, and I'm graduating this May on time, even part-time this semester. So it's been really great.
Hi guys, my name is Katie Sieverts. I'm a senior in the College of Health and Rehabilitation Sciences, Sargent College. I'm a human physiology major, and I was also pre-med all throughout college. I'm from New Hampshire as well, and I transferred from Wake Forest University, which is in North Carolina. It's a small liberal arts school. When I was looking for colleges, I really wanted a small suburban campus, and after being there for about 6 months, I realized the benefits that can be provided by being in such a great city such as Boston. So I applied to Boston College, Northeastern, and BU was the only one that had the program that I wanted, the human physiology program, and so I ultimately chose BU. And I also, like Danny, have been able to do internships. I have a job right now as well on campus. I work for admissions. I'm also in Greek life, so there's a lot of ways to get involved on campus, and it's very easy to get acclimated onto the campus even as a transfer student.
So I know we have some questions coming in, but I'll ask the first one. And really, for each of you, what was your initial draw to want to be here at Boston University, different from where you were at or even other institutions around the country?
So basically the University of Florida is the complete opposite of BU. I was really looking forward to coming from the suburbs of South Florida. I really wanted to live in a city, and I really wanted to live in the Northeast. I really wanted that change of pace after high school, and the opportunity to meet new people and experience that diversity and experience life in a city and all of that. But because it didn't work out the first time around, I went to UF. And it was, like I said, the complete opposite. And I just couldn't stop thinking about how much BU was a right fit for me. And the more research I kept doing after I kind of focus in on communications. I kept doing more research on that program, and it really is one of the best in the country, and it was really kind of what blew me away to the point where I knew I had to transfer and get that degree from BU.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah.
So I being pre-med, obviously being in a city such as Boston, which is one of the top medical cities in the country, I really wanted to be able to get into the hospitals and work and volunteer. So I was able to do that. I had an internship both at Brigham and Women's Hospital, and I also right now have an internship studying post-traumatic stress disorder at the VA Medical Center, the Veteran Affairs. And I've been able to do that through BU, and I wouldn't have been able to do that had I stayed at Wake Forest University. So.
Housing. What has the housing experience been like for you, whether it's been on campus or off campus, and how have you fit into that mold as an incoming transfer?
I've had a great experience with housing. I've lived in every part of campus. So my sophomore year when I came in, I was living in the beautiful brownstones on Bay State Road. I had one roommate who was also a transfer student. So immediately right off the bat, we got along really well, and we had that kind of to bond over. We were both exploring the city and exploring the university in new ways. And then my junior year, I lived in another brownstone, but in the southern part of our campus with my 3 best friends that I had made during my sophomore year. And then we all went abroad the second semester and came back, and now our senior year we're living in the western part of our campus in the student villages, which are the high-rise, really nice apartments. We each have our own room, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, air conditioning. I've absolutely loved living on campus. It really makes BU feel like such a residential community, and gives you kind of like a home away from home.
Yeah, I definitely have had a similar housing experience. When I transferred, I wanted to be in a large dormitory so that I could be able to meet as many people as possible. Obviously, our brownstone-style dorms are really great, but they are smaller. A lot of time they're upperclassmen who live with their friends, so I wanted to be able to get into a larger dorm where I could meet as many people as possible. And then after 6 months, when I made enough friends, I actually moved into one of the brownstones, and I lived in a brownstone for 2 years. And now this year, senior year, I live off campus. But in hindsight, I think that I would have taken advantage of everything that BU has to offer and actually lived on campus all 4 years.
I will say, having been in the student village before, it is much nicer than when I live currently, so it's a terrific opportunity for students here at the undergraduate level. I will also say that while we don't guarantee housing for all of our incoming transfers, it is done on a semester-to-semester basis, and over the last several years, we have had the availability to offer every incoming transfer student the opportunity to live on campus. In your decision letter, you will know right away within your acceptance to BU, as we hope is the case for all of you, of course, whether or not you've been offered on-campus housing. And if you are offered on-campus housing, you will have the availability to live on campus for the entirety of your time here as an undergraduate. Another question about graduating in 4 years, and I know you talked about even graduating early, so has that been difficult for either of you? And I know for transfers, that's a big concern. Am I able to come in? Will I get enough credit? And can I graduate within a 4-year time window?
Well, I came in with a lot of credits. My high school offered AP classes as well as a dual enrollment with a local university. So all of that plus the credits that I had taken at UF my first year had me coming into BU as with someone with junior status. So technically I probably could have graduated like 3 semesters ago, but let that be a testament to how much I love BU and I never want to leave. So yeah, you definitely can graduate early if you work hard and you have those credits. Or graduate on time if that's what you're worried about. Definitely, there's never been any problem.
Yeah, similar to me. I only had one class that didn't transfer. It was a biology class. But being science major, I did have to take 2 summer courses. I chose to take them. So if your schedule works out, you might not have to take summer classes. But as a science major, being pre-med as well and having that concentration, it does make it a little bit harder, but definitely not impossible.
And I will also say, if you have AP credits from work that you've done at the high school level, like Danny, you can submit those credits to us. Not necessary really for the application process, but if admitted and will be enrolling at BU, you can submit those AP credits to our office, and you may, as was the case for Danny, get credit for that as well. Student support services. So what has advising been like for either of you, or different support networks and services here at the undergraduate level? Katie, I'll let you go first.
So one of the things that I really liked about Sargent College was that it is a smaller community. It's one of our smaller colleges at the university, so the advising is very one-on-one. My advisor doesn't have that many other advisees, so she definitely knows who I am. She knows, where I came from since sophomore year when I transferred to BU and where I want to go in my future, and so I can always go in and meet with her and talk about either my classes now, jobs for the future, grad school, things like that. So it's definitely been good.
Yeah, very similar. I had a fantastic advising experience right from the start. Over the summer, before I even came for orientation, my advisor called me on the phone and introduced herself to me and explained how everything would go at orientation, what documents I needed to bring with me, things I needed to print out, and etc. And then worked with me one-on-one when I got there to orientation, made sure that I was filling everything out correctly, and then continued to help me during my first semester. I was in her office a lot just trying to get all my questions answered, and then even after that semester was over and I was already officially a student, all my credits had been transferred, I really enjoyed working with her so much, and she was so attentive and so great for me that I just was in her office practically every semester just asking her questions about internships, jobs, resume help, life, literally anything that I could possibly think of.
And additionally, Boston University has a career center development area. We have a brand new building on the eastern part of our campus where students can take advantage of getting advising for internships, for resume building, for doing job interviews upon graduation. So lots of resources in addition to the academic advising that Danny and Katie talked about as well. Another question about class size, and what has your classroom experience been like in terms of the size of the classes, what your discussion groups may be like? What has that experience been like for each of you? Danny, you can go first this time.
Yeah, my experience within the College of Communication in terms of class sizes, I've really basically only had one large class, which was the Intro to Communication class, which you'll take with basically every other freshman or incoming transfer student that semester. And then that gets broken up into one discussion section each week, and that just is about 12 students or so, and that just gives you an opportunity to work more one-on-one with the students in your class as well as the TA. That's literally the only large class that I had as a transfer student. After that, every other class was probably less than 20 people easily, and that was for both my communication classes and most of my international relation courses as well.
Being a science major, obviously, class sizes are a lot larger. They're by no means huge. They're not those large 300 level, or 300 student classes, but they're probably about 120, anywhere from 75 to 120. Most of them are broken down into a discussion as well, and you tend to take classes with all the same people, so your classes seem smaller because you know everyone that's in them, and the teachers do make an effort, even with 120 students, to get to know you by face and name, and if possible, if you go to office hours, they definitely will know your story and know where you want to go with life. So even those large classes are still very manageable, and the professors are so great here at BU, and they really want to get to know you as a person.
And I will say, just to reemphasize the point I made earlier, the average class size here is 28. 80% of our classes have less than 30 students. It's also worth noting that only 4% of our classes have more than 100 students in a classroom. And some of those may be the larger science classes or introductory level courses to certain departments. But you're going to find the opportunity, certainly as an upperclassman here, to have a very small classroom size setting in your classes. There's another admissions question about SAT or ACT test scores. So we actually do not require standardized tests for admission as a transfer student. The only exception, as mentioned, is the TOEFL examination if you are an international student or English is not your primary spoken language. You're welcome to submit SAT or ACT scores if you wish to do so, but for the most part, we don't utilize those in terms of our review process for you as a transfer. So need not send them in, and again, we don't typically utilize those test scores. So another admissions question about college officials. So when completing the registrar's report, essentially you will need to have both academic and disciplinary questions answered on that report form. And essentially the most important aspect of that report form is that we are assured that you are in good academic and disciplinary standing at your current and any previous institutions where you were a fully enrolled student. So it may depend upon what type of college or university you are at. At some institutions, it may be a registrar's office who will have the college official who will sign that form. It may be a judicial affairs office, a dean of students office. So again, it may vary from college to college. but it really is whomever has access to your academic and disciplinary records at your current school. If you have an associate's degree, do you need to submit syllabi? You do. And essentially, if you have an associate's degree, you will be going through the process similarly to another student who might be amidst a 4-year bachelor's degree. So we are going to look at credits the same way for whether or not you have earned an associate's degree, but you will need to submit syllabi and go through the application process, same requirements as any other student. In terms of social life on campus, so getting back to really what your experience has been like, what has your social experience been like coming in not as a freshman in terms of your life on campus, even life here in the city of Boston? Katie, I'll let you start.
So BU does a wonderful transfer orientation. In the summer, you have a specific orientation for transfer students, so you get to meet a lot of the other transfer students who are coming in for your year. And I actually met my best friend at that orientation the first day. She's still my best friend now, and so that definitely makes the transition into Boston University much smoother, I guess. And throughout the semester, my first semester here, I actually ended up meeting a lot of other transfer students, and that definitely helped me feel more comfortable that there were a lot more people like me. And then joining a lot of clubs, joining admissions was one of the best things that I could do, so I could tell everyone how much I love BU and my experience with coming here. Joining a sorority definitely helped kind of broaden my horizon and meet many more people than I would have otherwise, so yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't ever feel like a transfer, and it's funny because whenever I talk to all of my friends and they kind of talk like, oh, our 4 years here, and then look at me like, I literally always forget that you're a transfer student. That's how quickly and easily it is to just really get integrated into the BU community. Like Katie, right from the start, right from orientation, I met so many other transfer students that I'm still friends with to this day. My roommate at orientation is still one of my good friends to this day. And it's so easy to get involved. I got involved in just one club. It was like an event planning committee my sophomore year, and that's how I met my 3 best friends who are now my roommates and hopefully, friends for life. So it's definitely been an extremely positive experience all around.
And what has the city of Boston been like for each of you, especially coming from Florida and I know from faraway New Hampshire, but what has it been like being a student here in the city?
Yeah, well, people always talk about culture shock. Let's talk about weather shock. I didn't know my natural skin color until I came to BU, but okay. I completely fell in love with Boston from the get-go. The brownstone that I lived in my sophomore year faced Fenway, and when my roommate and I opened up the windows, we would see the lights and we would hear the crowds cheering and the announcer and everything, and that was so exciting for me. So Fenway quickly became one of those places that I fell in love with and associated with Boston. I love going to concerts. The House of Blues is in the Fenway area, basically our backyard, and there's so many other music venues. I literally spent all my money on concert tickets. Having Boston Common, which is just like the park right in the middle of the city, is so nice on nice days, not January, February days, but I always like just taking a book out there and laying down on the grass and reading, and it's really nice to have that little getaway from the city or campus whenever you need it. There's literally so much to do, I'm never bored.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a similar experience. It's nice having, again, the Boston Commons is really close, almost in walking distance. It's only about a 15-20 minute walk from the Fenway area, Kenmore Square. Getting internships, like I was talking about earlier, my internship is like a quick T ride away. So getting to and from campus is very easy to the hospitals if you're a science major. The other day, we have a whole esplanade that has 20 miles of walking, biking, running, anything that you want to do. I went on a 6-mile run over to Harvard, MIT, so everything is very close together. It's easily accessible. It's definitely fun.
Yeah,
I would say.
We have perhaps the most important question to date is about food. I will start by saying that as a staff member here, not only do I take advantage of concerts and sporting events here on campus, but very much so going to the dining hall. It's one of my most exciting things to do. I know we have a brand new dining hall in the eastern part of our campus as well. So what has the dining experience been for each of you? Katie,
yeah, the food here is definitely very good. I don't want to bash Wake Forest, but I would say that it's better than Wake Forest. But yeah, they always have great variety of food. It changes every single meal, so it's not like there's something all day that you have to eat. They do have like the same things every day, such as sandwiches, pizza. They always have like burger and fries, and And so if all else fails, there's definitely things that you can eat. Yeah, the new dining hall, I always like to tell students this, but it actually has a pasta machine, so you can actually watch them make the pasta there, and so pasta is by far my favorite food, so I always like to eat at 100 for that.
Yeah, I don't cook at all, and I have a kitchen now, so no dining plan, and I miss the dining hall so much. Literally, like, the food really is, it's really good, and we have a great BU Dining Services Twitter, which I have to talk about because I'm a communications major. But, you know, any little problem that you may have, you know, they run out of something or something, you get a bad experience, you just tweet at them, and they really do their best to try to fix that for you. They care about the students. There's gluten-free options, there's Sergeant Choice options, which is our healthy food options, you know, if you're worried about, like, the freshmen or transfer 15, what have you. So yeah, I really miss the dining halls, and the cookies are to die for. You have to come just for the cookies. Yeah.
And for follow-up food questions about gluten-free or vegan options, both of those certainly are available to undergraduates. We have gluten stations, we have gluten-free stations as well, we have vegan options, vegetarian options. In our brand new dining hall, I know there's even a key card swipe area where you have to be gluten-free in order to get into certain areas, so that it is very much gluten-free. There's also kitchens available in our apartments on campus. In our student village, again, there are kitchens available. So some students living in an apartment here on campus may do some of their own cooking as well. But I think food is always best when you don't have to cook it for yourself.
Yeah.
So in terms of, I know you talked a little bit about clubs and organizations. I know you're in a Greek organization here. If you can talk a little bit about, and you as well, Danny?
No.
But to talk a little bit about what Greek life is here on campus.
So Greek life here, it's about 13%. We have 13 sororities and I believe 10 fraternities, or 9 fraternities at the time. It's a great way to get involved on campus. It's a great way to make campus feel like a tighter knit community. But what's really nice about PU is that it is by no means overwhelming. So if you're not involved in it, you don't even notice that it's here at all. But if you are involved in it, you notice it everywhere, and you're always with people who are in Greek life, and it's definitely a great way to get involved. They always put on philanthropic events that you can go to support different organizations around Boston or around the country, and they're definitely very fun times. I also participated in student government for a year, and again, admissions as well. So those are the organizations that I've been a part of. What about you?
Yeah, well, just to speak, I'm not a part of Greek life, but coming from UF, one of the reasons why I never felt like it was a right fit for me was because Greek life there was so overwhelming that I felt like I had to be a part of it. And that was definitely something that I didn't really want as part of my college experience. So coming here to BU, I really got a whole new appreciation for Greek life, and I kind of got rid of that negative stigma that I had on it before. So even though I'm not a part of one, I do respect it. I know a lot of people involved in it, and it's done really well for them. But I'm pretty much done a little bit of everything right now. The biggest thing that I've gotten involved with is PRSSA, which is the Public Relations Student Society of America, just a pre-professional society for communication majors. This semester we're planning our big regional conference. We have people coming from all over the country to BU, and we're going to have speakers, a career fair, network receptionist. That's been a lot of work, and it's mostly what I've been doing. But I've done a lot of other things within PRSSA. Done student government for a little bit, work in admissions. I work a lot in the college communication as well. I'm mentoring a group of freshmen. I've done programming council, which is our event planning committee. I've done Quidditch. I've done soccer.
You heard her right, folks. Quidditch, yes.
Quidditch. I went to the Quidditch World Cup in New York. I mean, I always brag about it because it sounds so legit. But yeah, I've pretty much been able to do everything I wanted to do.
And I think that's one of the beauties of Boston University as a large, diverse institution. And to Danny's point, you know, there isn't one club or organization or a culture here on campus that you need to be involved in one specific type of organization or another to fit in. You know, Greek life is a great opportunity for a lot of our students here on campus, but it's not the dominant culture. You may be involved with, you know, programs in your academic area. It may be social, it may be art or athletic organizations. We have over 50% of our students who participate in intramural sports here on campus, for example. So lots of opportunities to be involved in an array of different areas without needing to feel as if one area versus another is that opportunity. We have another question about work study. So I don't know if either of you have had jobs on campus or friends who had jobs on campus, but what opportunities exist for working as a student?
So even though I didn't have work study, BU has a great, when you become a student here, you get access to what we call our student link, which has all your access to academic stuff, work study stuff for jobs, and we have what's called Quickie Jobs. For those who don't have work study, or even for those who do, and it's basically either on-campus jobs or babysitting jobs around the city that you can log on and see if they're on there, and you can just kind of sign up for them and you just go and do it, and it's just a quickie job, I guess. But that's definitely a great option as well.
Yeah, I don't have work study either, but I have 4 jobs on campus, so hasn't been
she's working.
too difficult. Yeah, I have 2 jobs working with admissions, then I have my job at the College of Communication where I'm an ambassador to a few freshman students, and then I also work at Agganis Arena, which is where all our hockey games are played, so it's pretty cool because other people have to pay for the games. I get paid to watch them. So.
We're also getting a lot of questions, again, back to the application process about the submission of syllabi and the credit evaluation process. So again, just a reminder that we will need syllabi for your college coursework in order to award college credit and credit as an incoming BU student. And you do not need to wait for your admission decision in order to submit that syllabi to our office. So as an applicant, we encourage you to submit syllabi to credeval@bu.edu, and that will allow for us to do your credit evaluation immediately after we're able to render an admissions decision for your application. And that is all courses that you've done at the college level. So whether it's previous semesters and your current semester. So if you are applying, for example, for the September term of next year, we encourage you to send your syllabi for the current courses that you are enrolled in at this point in time for us to consider for your credit. What we will do is look at those syllabi and we will submit to you officially an evaluation of credit that you will be able to see prior to having to deposit and enroll here at BU. So again, we will complete that credit evaluation before your enrollment here at BU, but we need those syllabi in order to do that evaluation itself. Another question about the PTK nomination form. So again, if you are a community college student enrolled in the Phi Theta Kappa honor organization, there is a merit scholarship specific to students in the PTK. If your advisor nominates you, there is a nomination form on our admissions website, and they should submit that to our office by March 1st. So it is the same deadline as the application itself, but those PTK nomination forms for our merit scholarship, and again, that is a $20,000 scholarship good for 2 years here at BU, does require for you to have 60 transferable credits as an incoming student, which again, we will determine when looking at your syllabi and your courses you've done at the college level, but that nomination form should be submitted by March 1st. Another question about credits. How many credits do I need to have as an incoming BU student? And we do not have a minimum or maximum requirement in most cases. For community college students, the maximum is 60 credits and 80 credits from a 4-year institution, but we do not have a minimum requirement for transferable credits. However, to be considered a transfer student, you do have to have 12 credits completed at the college level in order to be a transfer applicant to Boston University. But some of you may be in your first semester of college, your 3rd, 4th, or 5th semester of college. We will review your application in a very similar way. There is not a minimum requirement. We have just a couple more minutes. There's a question about internships and co-ops. I know you've had different experiences with internships. I will say that Boston University is not a huge co-op school in that the vast majority of career-related experiences available to students are in the form of internships, which are very similar to co-ops, different from other schools that really focus most on co-ops. But we have internships available for any student in any program, and that includes students coming in as transfers. So what have the internship experiences been like?
Yeah, so I've had 4 internships since coming to BU. After my sophomore year, I became to kind of really look at what I wanted to do with PR, and I decided that I wanted to work in entertainment, so I figured let's try some internships in LA. I'd never been to LA. I don't know anybody in LA. What am I going to do? So I knocked on a lot of doors of people that I knew in comm, and I was able to secure 2 internships through those connections at 20th Century Fox and at the Oscars. And it was a really fantastic experience, and it really sealed my decision to continue down that path. And then I studied abroad twice, and both of those programs were internship programs. So I was taking classes as well as interning. So I studied abroad in London last spring, where I was interning at a premier PR agency. So it was basically just an entertainment, and I was doing online film publicity for them. And then that following summer, I went to Sydney, and I was working on a small little PR team with very big clients. Who were working with CNN, Sony Pictures, worked the Astro Awards, which are like the Australian Emmys. So it's been a really great experience, and all of that has been through BU and the connections and the networking.
Yep. My internships have been a little bit different because I am a science major, so I know one of you had a question about research opportunities. Boston University is a research institution, so we have plenty of opportunities to get involved in research. Similar to the Quickie job list that I was talking about earlier, we also have a database for all of the internship opportunities that are provided by BU, so you can just log on and see if one interests you. That's what I did last spring, and I ended up getting an internship, like I said, over at the Veteran Affairs Medical Center in Jamaica Plain. I study post-traumatic stress disorder, which is more of a psychology-based research internship, but I have friends who have worked in the neurology department at different hospitals, the cardiology department as well, geriatrics. So there's definitely opportunity for research.
So we have time for one last question. Actually, it's a great question, and it's really about kind of the value of your BU education. So I know as you're graduating soon, I hate to get nostalgic here, but as a graduating student, what do you think has been the true value of your experience and your education and your degree here at Boston University?
Yeah. So I think the most important thing that I've gotten out of this is just the unbelievable a web of connections and network that have come through just having a degree in BU. Even when I was abroad, even as places as far away as Australia, the BU name is instantly recognizable. People know where you're coming from, and they see that, and they know that you're a student with high caliber. You know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about, and they really do like to see that. And that's something that I've really appreciated with all of my travels, is just how great and how reputable the BU name is. Just the experiences I've had here, I'm like really sure I wouldn't have been able to get them anywhere else, and it was an investment from the start, and one that I'm positive will pay off in the next few months.
Yep, I definitely feel the same. I actually had my first job, and I'm planning to go to grad school, but I'm planning to take a few years off to get some patient contact hours before I apply to medical school or nursing school. Haven't really decided yet what I want to do. But I actually had my first post-grad job interview last Wednesday, and I was hired on the spot, which I can only partly attribute to going to Boston University. So it's definitely pays off to come here. It's a great university and so many opportunities for your future.
So we want to thank you for really taking the time to join us and learn a little bit more about Boston University. Danny and Katie, I want to thank you as well for sharing your experiences. And we're going to end this presentation with a short 3-minute video. I know we've been playing a slideshow showing some views of our campus, but we have a short 3-minute video showing a little bit more of the sights and sounds of our campus and what it's like to really be a student here at Boston University. So again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your application as a transfer, and certainly for you enrolling here at Boston University. Take care.